Welcome to those of you who are arriving to our webinar, to our Zoom meeting. We'll start in about a minute, and just a reminder to mute yourself other than when you're asking questions later. Thank you.
Oh.
His mouth? Yeah. He's got it.
That's a sweet sound.
That's a child.
Sorry, guys, on mute now.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Mike Hubert, next slide, please. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Borkenhagen. I'm the Executive Director of the San Jose Light Tower Corporation, and the name of our project is Urban Confluence Silicon Valley. We're really pleased to have you here tonight. This is a really special meeting for us. It's the first time we've been able to have our winning design team here to present and also to answer questions. So tonight's meeting protocol, please use the chat function for anything that you'd like to communicate with us, either questions or comments. And then after all the presentations, which will probably be approximately 30 minutes, then we'll get into the question and answer mode. I will let you know when it's your turn to ask questions. And at that point, then please unmute. But if everyone could please remain muted throughout, except for when you're asking questions, we'd appreciate it very much. That would actually apply to the panelists too. Please mute yourself. And when we do get to the Q&A part, please be as brief as you can in asking questions. We're all very interested in hearing the winning design team answer all of our questions. Also, we are recording this session and it will appear on our website probably by tomorrow. So with that, I'll turn it over to my partner, Christine Davis.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Steve, for passing this slide to me. I've lived downtown for 35 years, and green gathering space is really important to me and to our team. So some may say, why Arena Green at Guadalupe River Park and Gardens? When we first envisioned this project, we envisioned a different
Christine, you're muted.
Okay, little technology problem there. Sorry about that. Thanks for passing this slide on to me, Steve. I've lived downtown for 35 years, and the green gathering space is really important to me. So some have asked, why Arena Green at Guadalupe River Park and Gardens? Just a little history is when we first envisioned the project, we envisioned another site. And at the city's leadership request, an independent site selection study was a requirement for us to move forward. 7 downtown sites were studied within this. And after funding and completing the site selection study in October of 2018, Arena Green was determined to have the highest score by a wide margin. And this site was unanimously approved by City Council on March the 12th of 2019. And our team, frankly, is delighted that this landmark will be in the middle of the urban core park in harmony with nature, as you can see. Almost since inception, we've worked with 2 really key partners here. Nicole Burnham, who's the Deputy Director of the City of San Jose's Parks and Recreation Department. And then our next special guest is Jody Starbird, who is the past president of Guadalupe River Park and Gardens. She was one of our esteemed jurors. And more importantly, she's our environmental chief of police on this project. So I want to welcome Jody.
Thank you, Christine. That's right. I'm Jody Starbird. I was the president of the board of directors of the Guadalupe River Park when I rolled off the board, the presidency. I'm still on the board, still a vital part of my life. We are the city's nonprofit partner in the development. We should a stretch of trail and parkland from Interstate 880 all the way down to basically the intersection of 280 and 87. So we are stewards of the park, stewards of the garden. We are advocates for it. We want to activate it and have it be treated ecologically sensitively. So that's been sort of our focus as we've moved through working with the Urban Confluence group, which I've been participating for at least 2 years, probably even more than that. Just sort of fostering along the process. I also happen to be an environmental consultant and planner, and I work for the city of San Jose often, writing environmental impact reports and initial studies for negative declarations. So I have that background as well. And we want to be sure that both the Guadalupe River and the Los Gatos Creek are treated, again, very sensitively from an ecological standpoint, both flora and fauna. We want to be sure that the project doesn't encroach within the riparian corridor more than it should. And we're going to be watching every step of the way. And this organization knows that. And the Conservancy is behind that process. So that's sort of the role I've been playing for the last few years with the organization. I've also was on the jury, which was an absolutely wonderful experience, something I'd never done before. It got me to think more with the left side of my brain or the right side, whichever one is the more creative side. So that was an exciting process, and I enjoyed it, and I'm very happy with the choice that we've made. I'm very excited about it. I feel it's a bold choice. And, you know, I think that we're going to be working with the designers through the entire process to make sure that it is what we need it to be from an advocacy and a stewardship, you know, position. So that's my role.
Very good. Thanks. I'm gonna take over now. As is indicated here, I'm a co-founder and the board chair of the nonprofit, the San Jose Light Tower Corporation, and the Urban Confluence Silicon Valley project is a project of the nonprofit. We, as many of you know, we formed the nonprofit about 4 years ago. The third co-founder, Tom Woolman, is on the call. Glad to see you signed in, Tom. And Steve Borkenhagen and I were the 3 co-founders, and then Christine came on board a couple of years ago. Next slide, Mike. I am glad that Jody brought up the jury. I want to talk about the jury briefly. This is the jury, and we went out to find some great talent. And as you can see, we had a lot of very strong jurors with a lot of experience. Some were experienced jurors, some were not, as Jody indicated. I want to point out that it's the exact same jury that we picked roughly 2 years ago, and all 14 jurors hung in there through the trials of COVID. And this jury is made up of roughly 50% local to San Jose or Santa Clara County. 70% of the jury is from Northern California, and the juror that was the farthest away, got the long distance award, was Dan Rusgaard in the Netherlands. And so really a strong group. Next slide. Few points here that I want to emphasize. This is going to be a gift. We are orchestrating this as a gift. We have to raise a lot of money beyond what we've done. So far, we've raised over $2.5 million, and most of that was raised when we had no site and we had no design. So we're blessed to have a lot of supporters, over 300 different supporters that have come together to help us get to this point. We want this to we want to emphasize that in the age of COVID and with increased homelessness and increased hunger, we are not impacting social services with the philanthropy effort on this project. And in fact, some of us are supporters of those social needs. I want to make it clear, as Jody indicated, that we are friends of the environment. We are not foes. We are not about killing birds and fish. We're going to incorporate bird-safe design. We're going to take care of the flora and fauna. And this park is going to be treated with all the respect that it deserves. And we're going to comply with all applicable environmental regulations. And the last bullet indicates the park will always be a park. We are not being given this land. We are being authorized to use this land. So it will continue to be a park. Next slide, Mike. We are concluding phase 2, and these bullets indicate what's ahead of us in the next phase. And I'm not going to read through them all, but on these previous, this is the 6th community meeting, and the previous 5, a lot of questions come up about security and safety. Well, we're going to develop that further beyond what is already indicated in the phase 2 submission. And you can see that we have a lot of work to do in phase 3, and we don't have time to go through them all, but we are going to come up with we also get questions about operating and maintenance plans, and we're going to develop those plans in the next phase. Next slide. So as we conclude phase 2, the next major thing we're doing is getting this issue ahead of City Council on May 4th. We have helped the staff create the memos that need to be created for that, but we have 2 objectives in the May 4th council meeting. Number 1, we want to have this design approved by City Council, the design that we're about to show you. And number 2, we're going to have the City Council approve a memorandum that describes what we in the city need to do as we move forward through phase 3. And as you can see, and this is brings to mind, I was taught a long time ago in managing large multi-$100-million projects, how do you eat an elephant? You do it one bite at a time. So we have these phases broken down in definable pieces, edible pieces, so that phase 3, phase 4, 5, and 6 is how we're breaking down the rest of the project in a sensible manner. Next slide. So now I want to introduce these 3 gentlemen that make up the design team that won. And unless you have not been paying attention to the emails that we've been sending or a lot of the media that's picked up on the story, the winner of this competition is the Breeze of Innovation, led by Fernando Jerez from SMAR Studio in Perth, Australia. So it's morning tomorrow in Perth. And next slide, please. So I'm going to turn it over to Fur. Fur, it's all yours.
Thank you, John. We are very, very happy to be in this position. We are very thankful to the organization, and thank you to the jury. It's been a long process, over a year. And I'm going to introduce ourselves, our office, and then I will introduce my colleagues, Eddie Hall and Ron Klemenschik from our executive architect and the structural engineers. So we are, as John has said, we are a kind of firm with more than 10 years of experience doing projects around the world. As you can see here, we are originally from Spain. We have a few projects in Europe. We are now in Australia, and we also are working mainly in the north of Europe. So we are used to work in different climate conditions and being very sensitive with the environment. Next, please. So we are a young office, but we have experience working around the world and working remotely. As you can see, these are some of the projects we've been involved in the last 10, 12 years. Most of these projects have been public projects, cultural venues, museums, and iconic structures, and all of them are being driven by our by optimism and by innovation. And why optimism? Because we think a better world is possible, and we try to use every opportunity we have for every project in any city in the world to achieve that. Next, please. So this is one of the last projects we are doing that is now under construction. I'm showing this because the site is very similar to the Arena Green Park in San Jose. This is in the north of Europe. It's a park, it's a public project, it's a museum. And I think we won the competition because our proposal was the most sensitive with the environment, as well as activating the context around us. So as you can see, it's the old city in the background. It's a public park and it's an iconic structure. So in this project, we were using the same tools, similar tools, even though the project is completely different than the ones that we have used in the Breeze of Innovation, which is creating an iconic structure, a landmark that is visible from the context, that is able to attract visitors, but also be very sensitive with the environment and the ecosystems of the park, and being able to activate the park around it. So a project that is able to transform in a positive way a park, but also being able to attract visitors from all over the country in this case. Next, please. So this is what, and you can see in this image how the project is really connected to the place. This image, and with this image, we try to capture the very particular and interesting conditions of the riparian corridor and the Arena Green and the creek and the river, and how an iconic structure can merge in this context. Next, please. So as you can see in these 4 images, the purpose of the project was to create an iconic landmark and merge and activate the park around us. So in the first image, you can see how the project is sitting in the park. In the second image, how you can see how the project is also creating an area to having an outdoor cafe and activities close to the river. Then how the project is working during the day and during the night. So how the different lighting conditions and the different environmental conditions are merged with this structure. Next, please. So one of the main drivers of this project was to be able to create something that being able to be visible from outside the park and from the city, and being able to be identified with Silicon Valley and San Jose had also this kind of chameleonic condition to merge and to work all 24/7. As you can see here, this is a series of images that show how the project is changing and is as attractive as in the daytime as in the nighttime. Next, please. So, why have we chosen to design this project? And the main driver of this project has been people. So we had 3 elements to play in with this project. The first one was Silicon Valley, and we tried to capture Silicon Valley innovation. The second one was San Jose, the city, how to engage with the community of San Jose. And the third one was the park, the environment, how to create something that is sitting in the park, but it's almost like a forest, like it belongs to the park. That is not an artificial structure superimposed to the park that is totally in shape and form different from nature. So that's the reason we choose these rods, these vertical elements, that the idea is that they can merge with the forest, they can merge with the trees, and they can allow people to children and families to be enjoying the space every time. So as you can see, we have different spaces here that can be enjoyed different times of the day. Next, please. But the most important element for an iconic landmark, or in other words, for a landmark to be truly iconic, is to provide an experience that it cannot be found anywhere else in the world. So we've been researching a lot of iconic landmarks around the world and study especially the ones that are really being loved by people. And we think that the fact that this structure will move with the breeze, that engage both with a unique experience for people, because it will be the first time that you will be able to be up ascending in a structure that is moving. People will be completely safe because we have created the platforms that are fixed in a fixed structure, but around them, and thanks to our structural engineers, we allow the structure to move with the breeze. And more importantly, this movement will create energy. And we think this is a very important fact, because I think we are in the 21st century. We are all aware of the climate change. We are all aware that the valley is warming up, and what a best way that bring a bit of breeze as clean energy. Next, please. So once you get to the top, and this is a view, this is the viewing platform, you will see this landscape of light, which in a way summarize the concept of the project. So the breeze will move these rods, and with the movement of the rods, the tip of the rods will light up, and that instant creation of clean energy, we think, is a statement very important in our planet. There are a lot of buildings that have that are achieving zero carbon or carbon neutral goals, but we think for younger generations it's very important to see instantly that when the breeze moves something, that immediately creates light, and that is a very easy way to communicate to younger generations that a clean energy world is possible. There is also a metaphor that we like to use, is that we thought that people in the valley are like little, and and the people that create the companies of Silicon Valley, but also everybody that is working in the valley in a way are dreaming with a better world, and the kind of the little Harry Potters of our time. And this is a collection of magic wands. So in a way, you can imagine all these future generation kids dreaming with a better world and lighting up the magic wands for everyone to see. Thank you. So now I'm going to introduce the next speaker, who is Eddie Hall from MBH, our executive architect.
Thank you, Fer. Hi, everyone. As Fer mentioned, my name is Eddie Hall. I'm a project architect with MBH Architects. And Mike, if we could go to the next slide, please. So just a little bit about our firm. I've been with MBH for 11 of my 15-year career. However, MBH opened its doors in Alameda in 1989, almost 32 years ago. We are 160 strong across a few different offices around the world. However, about 120 of those folks live in the Bay Area. And so we are quite literally your neighbors, your community members. And I think that that's important. We're committed to making sure that this project is a success and make sure that it serves the community. We also do international work and have done 3,000 projects in over 96 countries. We do a lot of different kinds of work, from retail to restaurant, workplace, labs, as well as multifamily housing. And one thing I was really excited to do was to ask our marketing team to put that little Inspire logo near the bottom of the slide on. And that is, born out of our participation with SMAR and the rest of the team on this project. I'm extremely excited to be involved in this and to be working with such talent and such amazing ideas. And let's, next slide, please, Mike. The map here in the center is just some of our select experience. And I've shown a few slides on the right of prior projects that we've done in San Jose, housing, and then some historic rehabilitation. On the left side, just a few to call out. Pier 70 is multifamily housing that we're currently doing. That's under construction. 1966 9th Street was recently completed. That's a multifunction building. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. And MBC Biolabs, we recently completed phase 1 in San Carlos that we're extremely proud of. They have since gone on to move on with and participate in COVID testing. So that really warmed our heart as we work on projects that leave the world better than when we found it. And let's go to next slide, please, Mike. And just a few more. This is my last slide. 300 grant was recently completed last month. That was a new ground up building that we did in San Francisco with retail at the ground floor. That was an MBH design, as was 200 Brannan and Rincon Green. Those are both multifamily projects in San Francisco. The Uptown Station near the center of the slide, kind of in that vertical column, is something that is near and dear to me. I worked on that project for 4.5 years, and that was the conversion of the old HC Capitals building in Oakland to a technology office. And we included a 95-foot atrium in that space, along with seismic retrofit. And then finally, a project that we're working on that we're also very proud of is the Picar Bioingenuity Hub, which is a really fantastic piece of 1960s brutalist architecture on the UC Berkeley campus that we are expanding and converting into a life science laboratory. So all of these projects, just to give a little bit of context and familiarity with me and my company. And I'll close with saying they all pale in comparison to the exciting and amazing designs that SMAR has and the rest of the team have developed for this. And we're extremely excited to move forward with the next steps. And with that, I think we can go next slide, and I'll hand it over to Ron Klemenczyk.
Thanks, Eddie. Good evening, everyone. I can't tell you how excited I am to be part of this project. I get to work on some of the most amazing projects all around the world, and this truly is the top of my career. So I want to commend John Ball and Steve Borkenhagen and Christine Davis for running a truly world-class competition. Very transparent and truly world-class in all of my career now, 35 years. So next slide, please, Mike. Our company was founded 101 years ago. We've been around a long time. We've designed some of the most amazing buildings all around the world, in North America, in the Middle East, in Asia, many of them very tall, none of them designed to move, which is most exciting to me about this project, where Farah called me in the very early stages and said, I want to design this thing. Can you deliberately design it to move? And that's super exciting for a structural engineer. Next slide, Mike. Some of the amazing place making that we do around the world, whether it be in New York Harbor or in Chicago or Seattle or what have you in San Francisco. These are amazing projects to be involved in, and we're really honored to be involved in these kinds of projects. And the breeze of innovation is unlike anything we've ever done. So we're super excited to be engaged in this. Next slide, Mike. The Amazon Spheres in Seattle, which was completed about a year ago, is a never been seen before project. And this is the kind of stuff that really inspires us and challenges us, where we have clients like Urban Confluence who want to really reach and do something new, and ambitious architects who want to realize that vision. And we're able to create these never been seen before kind of iconic structures, not only for private clients, but also for public clients. Next slide, Mike. The Seattle Public Library is a great example of that, a super iconic structure funded by public money on a public land, inspiring people from around the world to come and enjoy the library and see Seattle and its sites. Next slide, Mike. Or in Chicago, this very small but very iconic pavilion where we experimented with three-dimensionally bent wood, never been done before in the world. And it's one of the most photographed places in Chicago today. It's in the Lincoln Park Zoo area, in the Lincoln Park area in Chicago, if you're interested in visiting. Next, please, Mike. A little closer to home, very prominent project just opened last, or I guess 2 years ago now, Chase Center in San Francisco. Next slide, Mike. The tallest building west of the Mississippi River, Salesforce Tower, with its iconic top and public art included. Next slide, Mike. And then most close to home, our involvement in the city of San Jose, with the San Jose Airport, the Avaya Stadium, home of the earthquakes, many tall buildings downtown San Jose, including currently under construction 200 Park with the J. Paul companies. We're truly engaged in the San Jose community. So once again, super excited to be involved in this project. Can't wait to really roll up our sleeves and work collaboratively with the community and the team, and really look forward to the adventure that lies ahead. Thanks. Back to, I'm not sure who's next. John, who's next?
Thank you, Ron. And I just want to reinforce the fact that we're glad you're on the team. Known your firm for a long time, and you've always done a great job. And Fur did a great job in picking the right structural engineer for this project. You can take it from me that Ron is as good as he presents, and his firm can do this job. And not all structural engineers would be up to the task of doing this project, but got a lot of confidence in MKA. By the way, Ron is the K in MKA. I'm going to walk you through. We got another community meeting coming up on the 22nd. It'll be very much like this one as we get ready for the May 4th City Council meeting. Steve, you want to take the rest of the slide real quick, and then we'll get to Q&A real efficiently.
Sure, John. Thank you. Just a reminder how much we believe in ongoing community outreach. I am available anytime for anyone who has anything to advise us, questions, concerns, whatever they might be. So please just pick up the phone and call me, or you can, of course, email me. We'd appreciate you sharing our story with anyone you know, especially if you're inspired like we are by the work that we're doing. Every time I hear Fur and Eddie and Ron talk, it just reinforces to me the fact that these 4 years that John and Christine and I have put in are absolutely worth it, and we couldn't be more excited about what we're trying to build here in San Jose. And recordings of everything we do are on our website. We, as the I think Ron mentioned, been very transparent. Everything we do, we show with the public. This is a public park. We will be building this for the people, as Christine likes to say, built by the people for the people, and that's what we're working on. John, are you ready for me to go into Q&A?
I am. Please do that. I want to make sure we get to, I think it's pronounced Juliana. She had a question about the environment, and Art Weisbrot had a question in there. I want to make sure we get those answered because they were the first two questions.
Would you like to take one, John, or would you like me to?
Go ahead, and I'll support it as I need to.
Fine, thank you. Bear with me while I'm reading the questions. One of the first questions is, can you all please expand on how you will protect birds, fish, and wildlife, especially from the created light pollution? As a number of people have mentioned, we've been extremely mindful of the environment really from the very beginning of our project. We hired H.T. Harvey to do a biology study, and Bold, that's Brian Order Lighting Design, to do a lighting study. We did that about 2 years ago, really at the very beginning of our work. Everything that we've done has been consistent with best practices that as we understand them, and we continue to learn. Every site is different. We have a river and a creek flowing through the site, and our entire design team is very conscious of that. You all heard Fur speak eloquently about that. We are going to dig deeper while we get into the EIR and CEQA phase. We have David J. Powers Associates with Shannon George doing that work. We expect to do more biology and lighting studies. As we have more detail now of Fur's actual design, now we can start to really get granular about how we will protect the environment, whether it has to do with light, fish, birds, or anything else. And that would include all flora and fauna. Art Weisbrot said, the structure is attractive. Will it have any use in addition to design and beauty? This is being built to be a magnificently beautiful thing. You know, art and architecture mean a lot to all of us in our lives. Beauty for the sake of beauty is extremely important. But in addition to that, in addition to the inspiration that all of us will feel when we sit there and have a beer or have a sandwich in the park, we also think this will drive economic development. You all probably understand that our location is going to likely be the new epicenter of San Jose, and one could argue the urban epicenter of all of Silicon Valley. San Jose is the only true urban downtown we have in Silicon Valley. And so having this project, along with the activation that we build throughout the park, is going to, we think, lead to a lot of economic development close by. And so that certainly is part of it. And community pride is really what drove us in the beginning. All of us in our communities care about buildings and art objects, and we are no exception. So we're certainly trying to do that. Art also asks, from how far away will people be able to see it? We don't know the answer to that yet. And I'll ask Fur, have you guys done any preliminary studies to figure out how far away, or Eddie, how far away people might be able to witness this? It's approximately 200 feet tall. I'll remind people that the height limits of buildings in downtown are limited by the one engine inoperable program at the airport. So since we're right under where planes will fly, the lowest point in downtown, as far as the maximums are concerned, is around Arena Green. So immediately to the east will be buildings that progressively increase in height, and similarly to the south and to the west. But to the north, the airport is lined up directly. So I'll give my answer, and then I'll give Eddie and Fur a chance to answer if they like. That from the north, the visibility should be really from a significant distance. Eddie or Fur, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I can talk just a little bit about that. I mean, you're right, Steve. The north, to a slightly lesser degree, the south have fairly clear sight lines. Currently to the west, you know, we've got the SAP Center, which is not enough to block it, but we do know that the Google development is throughout that whole section of the corridor. So, you know, there will be larger scale visual studies done, but you know, visibility to downtown to the east in the immediate area. It'll have quite a bit of presence, of course, from the freeways, quite a bit of presence, and then, as we mentioned before, north and south. It'll be exciting to do those urban scale site studies, though, and see exactly what the distances will be.
Fernando, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I agree with Eddie. We did from the distance because we couldn't be on the site because of COVID. But we did some visual studies in 3D, and then we're fairly confident that the project will be very visible in this location because the maximum height is regulated by the airport, but also the other buildings. So there's no building taller than this one, and they're far away. So as Eddie said, it's visible from, obviously the SAP is a bit more than half of the height of this landmark. So it won't block the icon, and the position from the north, the CBD, the east, the south will be quite visible. So we hope that, and also I think one of the important, and Eddie mentioned that, is the highway. When you're driving away or towards San Jose, you're going to see it for sure.
You know, back to Art's question earlier about what other than beauty and design might this offer. The wall of buildings that are immediately to the east of Arena Green, which are mostly residential, but some of them are also office. It's really going to be a wonderful view looking to the west and seeing the breeze, particularly at night, but also during the day. One of the many appeals of this project is that it'll be graceful and magical both day and night, and we always hope that that would be the case. There's a question about the movement of the rods and the generation of electricity. Just to be clear, Fernando's designing this, you know, with his consultant experts, so that the movement of the rods generates electricity, and the electricity in turn powers the lights that would be on the tips of the rods. Also, there's a question about exhibition space, cafes, and other space around the site. Although in Fernando's design, there are public spaces, including a cafe, those activation strategies are going to be really developed during the next phase in the next year. So we're hoping that lots more activation takes place. In order to do that, we need to work with our partners, especially at the Guadalupe River Park Conservancy and the Parks and Recreation and Neighborhood Services. So we're going to be diving right into that, because this is a team effort between the city, the Conservancy, us, and actually lots of other stakeholders that we meet with regularly. There's another comment from Lisa Hetler-Smith. I'd love to see some outside space included that is easy for various types of performers to use and folks to comfortably hang out and listen, watch. A stage, platform, sloping lawn, etc. That it would be absolutely right on point to the next phases, as I mentioned a moment ago. You know, I've been reading these questions instead of allowing those of you who'd like to speak. So I didn't mean to do that. I actually just lost track, because this is how we've done it in the past. So I think I'll call on Art Weisbrot, who happens to be a friend of mine. Art, would you like to ask any questions, or are you satisfied having written them?
Well, I'd like to know whether they think it's going to be visible from farther away at night because of the lights than it will be during the day. And I also would like somebody to address what you think is going to be the reaction when homeless encampments start coming to that area, because I think that's going to be a serious concern. And I don't know what the city is going to be able to do about it.
I'm going to take the homeless question, and then I'll let Fernando or Eddie talk about the light and the visibility from a distance. The homeless problem is obviously much bigger than Arena Green or our project. I can tell you that I personally and others on our team are working on this really intractable national problem that we have of homeless. Homeless people need a place to live that isn't in the rivers and the parks. We are supportive of all those things. We can't solve it ourselves, Art, as you know. You and I have probably talked about this, but we're going to be working diligently to treat the homeless with respect, but at the same time, try to have a situation where places like this beautiful park that we're building will also be respected. Parks are not built for people to live in. It's actually not allowed under current code. So insofar as homeless are living in the park, they're doing it in violation of codes. So we know it's very delicate. We are very sensitive about it, and we're going to do our best to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. So with that, I'll turn over to Fernando or Eddie.
I can answer that one. Thank you, Steve. In the last 6 months, we've been working with Beniteo, our lighting consultant, and we've been developing lighting systems that both make the structure spectacular and visible from the distance and from the park, but also are respectful of the ecosystems and also contemplate the regulations of the airport. So we are working with all these ingredients together to make the most spectacular lighting effects and visibility, but also be respectful of the ecosystem, birds and fauna around.
Thank you, Fernando. Eddie?
Only a quick note on the materiality. The current concept is that we're using a matte stainless steel finish for those rods, and so that has the benefit of being low maintenance, but also makes a visible, highly durable surface, so that there will be visibility during the day of the rods themselves.
Thanks, Eddie. Juliana, would you like to come on and ask your question?
Hello, thank you. Yes, so my name's Juliana, and reply from Jody Starbird. Thank you, Jody. I was just about to reply to you. But I'm wondering about, with the light pollution, how will the light be oriented? If not onward, will it be oriented upward? And I'm worried about that maybe contributing to night pollution, night sky pollution as well. And thinking about bird safe design, as well as any impacts to both human health as well as ecological health as well with the light pollution.
Thank you, Juliana. I'll take a shot at it first and let other team members answer if they like. But we've already done some preliminary work on that, which was part of the early lighting study by Brian Order, who's a national expert, maybe international. And these issues about wavelengths and warm and cold and such are all part of that study. John Ball and Christine and Davis and we are not lighting experts, but we are depending on lighting experts to do exactly what's responsible. So all the questions you're asking are questions that we are asking of the expert lighting consultants, and they will be answered during the next phase. Anybody else like to chime in on that?
I can quickly add something. Yeah, exactly. We've been working with the lighting consultants about that. The first thing we did is try to test the light pollution around this iconic structure if we were not lighting this up. So, for example, understanding the light pollution coming from the ACP center and the potential light pollution coming from the street lamps, etc. And then the project would like to take advantage of this light pollution and reflect that light, so that we don't have to add more light to the project. And then, as I said, working, as Steve said very well, working with the light consultants, we are keeping working with them. We're researching the wavelengths, temperature of light, in order to be respectful of the ecosystems around, but as well as providing a spectacular light.
Thank you, Fernando. Mani Farhadi, would you like to ask a question?
Sure. Hello. It looks beautiful.
Thank you.
My family and I did submit it, and we were not selected, but congratulations to the winner. My question is about feeling inclusive for all cultures and abilities, whether it's physical abilities to visit the site or financial ability to visit the site. It should, really feel like everyone belongs. And so I just want to make sure that that is created.
I'll take the part about the financial ability, and I'll let someone else on the team talk about the physical abilities. But we don't know exactly how the charges might take place for people to enter parts of or the top of the structure. That'll be developed in the future. But I guarantee that with our partners, we're going to have a project that will be accessible to everyone at certain times. So there could be free hours, free days, free weeks, holidays. We really don't know what it will be, but what I'll say, Monty, is that we're very conscious of this, and we want our project to be one that everyone will be allowed to enjoy. And particularly on the ground, of course, it's a park and it'll always be free, and people will be allowed to enjoy it. Fernando or Eddie, do you want to talk about accessibility?
Yeah, I can touch on the accessibility features that were in our final competition entry. And so as you saw in some of Fair's images, there is in fact a rampway that goes all the way up to the viewing platform at the top. It's quite long. It functions as almost a sky walkway, if you think of it that way. However, it is of course ADA compliant. And the competition entry design also includes 2 stair towers, which are for, both for life safety, for egress in case, folks need to get out of the structure. And it does include an elevator as well. And that elevator extends all the way from the foundation level or the basement level exhibition space up to the viewing tower. So there are quite a few different ways that one of any ability may choose to experience the structure, from just being on the ground at the park to going partway up a ramp and then choosing to maybe take a stair or an elevator all the way up. Or someone may come in, take the elevator to the top, take the elevator down to the bottom. And so we've been working to make sure that we accommodate folks of all abilities, and we'll continue to develop that as we move forward, of course.
As well as culturally, right? The point is so that anyone from any affinity group, ethnicity can also feel comfortable there.
And Monty, that'll be part of the programming too, and doing outreach to all different kinds of groups who want to use the park and use the structure. Fernando, did you want to add anything to Eddie's answer?
I think, answering the last bit of the question, culturally, because the concept is based on people, and each rod represents a person that represents diversity by itself. And also because of the rods are separated enough so people can circulate in the ground level without even having to pay the ticket. They can enjoy the structure, and of course there will be free days. And but the whole concept of the project is, from the beginning, was thinking about the diversity culturally.
Thank you, Fernando. Tom Woolman, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah, thank you very much. As one of the original founders, I am so pleased at the work that you, John, and Steve, and Christine have managed to do. In the early days, it was just a dream, and now we're here on the doorstep of reality on the 140th anniversary of the building of the original light tower. And, you talk, Fernando, about the connectedness of people. I am just stunned about the wonderful collaboration from so many people from so many different cultures. Just historically significant, you might be interested to know that the original light tower was actually saved by a Spanish engineer who studied at the Royal Academy in Madrid. If he hadn't have saved the tower, it might not have ever been built, and we might not be sitting here today. So my great appreciation for everybody's collaboration, their love, and the preservation of the symbolism of the development of towers, from perhaps the San Jose Tower to the Eiffel Tower, and now back again to Fernando's Tower, if you will. So thank you very much. And the wonderful part for me is that Perth is so far away, hardly anybody knows where it is, but I was born there. So there's another connection. So thank you all. My hat's off to you. Great job.
Thank you, Tom. That's very, very kind of you. We really appreciate that.
Very nice. Hey, Steve, could I jump in real quick?
Of course.
So, thank you, Tom. Very nice comments. And Monty, I just want to address you. I appreciate your submission. I don't know which one it was because it was a blind submission, but you're among friends and that you were one of 962 that didn't get selected. So, but thank you for participating very much. We're very proud of the response that we got, and you were part of that.
Mhm.
I
We
want
were.
to say a word about the lighting. It always comes up, and people somehow assume that we're going to act irresponsibly as it relates to lighting. We're underneath the flight path of 3012 runway approach and departure at SJC Mineta. And we have birds, we have the riparian corridor that we are going to respect and stay out of with our structure. We're going to abide by the 100-foot setback from the top of bank. Jody has been all over this issue since the first time we met. So please, everybody, pass the word. Hear me when I say we are going to do all the necessary biological reports that deal with all forms of wildlife, including birds and fish and mammals. And we are going to incorporate bird safe design, including, as an example, in fur, we haven't talked about this, but we have these anticipated glass walkway handrails that will protect people from going over the edge. We're going to extend those higher than the code required 42 inches above the walking surface, well above that. So we are keeping people safe. And we're going to incorporate fritted glass, what's called fritted glass, to make sure that birds see this glass. And so you have our word, my word, that we're going to act extremely responsibly when it relates to any form of environmental concern. Please pass that on.
Thank you, John. Jeffrey Lee, would you like to come on and ask a question? Jeffrey, if you can.
Am I on?
There we go. Hi, Jeffrey.
You see me?
Yes.
Oh, Steve, thanks for that surprise.
You're welcome.
He knows what I'm talking about. I prepared comments just to make my comments succinct. How significant this project is from my personal vantage point. As a resident of Santa Clara County, business owner, and a current participant of urban Confluence Silicon Valley, this is only the second time in over 45 years that I have been involved in a project that has been built from the ground up structure and then proceeded to be gifted to the city. This is rare to say the least. This one, however, is many, many, many times more involved from many perspectives, not least at the scope of the work and cost of the project. It is hard to pre-fathom the group effort of citizens from such a wide range of experience and interest to come together and produce such an amazing public work of art with a small number of volunteers and its global coordination. Maintain the enthusiasm and far-sighted vision, and you will have a have to experience place to soak in the energy and enthusiasm in our ever morphing and energetic, diverse communities. Thank you, Susan and Jeff Lee. My question is more aesthetic from an annual or seasonal perspective, will Breeze of Innovation transform as well? If so, how do you imagine this? Thank you.
Fernando, would you like to take that one?
Sure, thank you for the question. Yes, of course. That was embedded in the concept. Normally, dealing with the materiality of a static object, you can achieve that and absorb that change of season and annually. But imagine if the structure moves, that multiply the change. So I think in this project we try to involve all the environment: light, sun, air, breeze, sound. So it's like sitting in close to a tree. If you pay attention, you see the different reflections in the leaves of the hours of the day. The trees change seasonally. They even change annually because they grow, and you even hear something. So this is what we try to do here, a structure that is alive and is able to absorb all the different environmental conditions of San Jose and Silicon Valley.
Thank you, Fernando. Brian Doe, would you like to ask a question?
First, hello everyone. My name is Brian Doe. I just want to take a moment to thank all the organizers, the volunteers to making this possible, and congratulate to the winning team. And I do have a couple quick questions, but first is, what is the expected lifespan of the structures and its component? Because I noticed there's many different components to make this possible. And so I imagine some of the parts need to be replaced more often than others. So I'd love to have an understanding of how that is being thought out during the maintenance process.
Thank you, Brian. I'll let the team members take that one.
How about Ron?
Thanks, John. Thanks, Brian. There's the practical answer to your question, and then there's the legal answer to your question. The practical answer to your question is that, at least as far as the structure goes, it will be designed, and as long as it's maintained properly, it will last for hundreds of years. The legal answer to your question, unfortunately, we have to live in that world, is that we're specifically designing the structure to last 100 years. But you shouldn't fret at that response, that it will be structurally viable and safe beyond 100 years, no doubt.
Thank you, Ron. I'm going to suggest that we go for 4 more minutes and end at 7:05. So I'm going to take a couple more questions, and then I'll let John Ball wrap up the evening. Asher Kelman, are you still on the call? And if so, would you like to make a comment?
Yes. First of all, congratulations on such a superb project. I worked very, very hard. I didn't win, but I'm very glad that someone won who had the most incredible, fabulous ideas and a team that makes me sure they're going to ace it. So I'm very proud. And Steve, congratulations to you. Question I have is that, especially right near the stadium, there's a need to have a wall. And if there's a wall, there's a need to raise a hill. For me, for one, I would love to be able to have artists like me to be able to offer sculpture, giant epic sculpture, which will appear to be rocks, but really would be metal. But this is just an example. Other artists may have other ideas. Is there room for other artists down the road to be able to contribute sculpture which would fit in with the plan that has now been put forward?
Thank you, Asher. I'm going to take a brief shot at that. Then I'm going to let the design team take a shot, and then I'd like John Ball to wrap it up. So my answer is that John and I and Christine, and even with Tom going all the way back to the beginning, we've always talked about the possibility of sculpture gardens throughout Arena Green. We do not have a specific plan yet. In the next phase of the next year, we will certainly be revisiting that, talking about what it might look like, who might curate it, etc. But our goal, as John likes to say, has never been to do plop art, where we would take one piece, drop it in the park, and then go away. So in fact, let's let Ron and Eddie and Fernando say something, wrap it up, and then turn it back to John to end the evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I can start answering quickly your question. One of the things that we have to develop, elements we have to develop in this next stage is a master plan for the park that will take your request into consideration, but also the project allocates a big space inside the tower to, it's a void that in some images, if you check our submission, we put some public art in, so you see the scale of the public art that you can put in even inside the structure. Because of this giant space inside. So we will think about outside, but also inside you have plenty of possibilities, as well as in the semi-underground space facing the river, there would also be possibilities for exhibition and incorporate. That was the idea, that the project works as a canvas for art. And just for wrapping up, I would like to thank again all of you for your questions. Thanks again, Steve, John, and Christine for organizing this amazing competition, this ideal competition, and working and make possible that these things can happen. And also thank my wonderful team, which Eddie, Dres, and Ron are here. I'm sure with this amazing team, we're going to make it. Thank you.
Very, very well done. Nice close. I have nothing to add. I want to thank everyone. Spread the word. We have another community meeting on the 22nd, which you can register through our website, and or hitting the link. Or I can't hit the link on your Zoom call, sorry, but you can register on our website, on the Urban Confluence Silicon Valley website. Thank you for everybody. Hope you don't mind. We went a little bit long, but I thought it was very productive, and I hope we answered everybody's questions. If not, send your questions into Steve. Okay. Thanks so much, everybody.